Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fragrance Love Stories. Welcome back, I'm Joe the Fragrance Fanatic, and this is the first episode of the Fragrance Love Stories. Now, Fragrance Love Stories I hope to be a little bit different to what there are other YouTubers and podcasters out there that are doing right now, related to scents and podcasting. This is going to be purely talking and relaying certain stories and just backgrounds that certain people in the fragrance community have with particular fragrances, and I'm going to focus each episode on different fragrances, and hopefully you enjoy doing that. This could be something you do just a bit of spare time or to relax. It's going to be fairly chilled and laid back, and it'll be rough, but you know, that's how it goes with podcasts. Really, that's what podcasts are all about. And then at some point I hopefully we'll start to get some guests on, as I've done with previous podcasts. So, you know, in my opinion, let's not hold back. I think we should just get straight into this. And I'm going to be talking about a particular fragrance today that I think is probably one of the most popular fragrances, cheaper fragrances in the fragrance community. And that is Acqua by Emporio Armani. Now, this may just seem like a cop-out. I don't really know that it's a very, very popular fragrance, and I know that loads and loads of people like it. So I thought it would be an easy way to kind of start this off with some really good stories and some really nice backgrounds from people in the frag com. So yeah, let's start off with, why not? Let's start off with Acqua di Gio. So I'm going to be doing it on Acqua di Gio Pour Homme. Now, Pour Homme is the best-selling fragrances, one of the best-selling fragrances by Giorgio Armani. It's a popular perfume by Giorgio Armani, and it's for men. It was released in 1996. It's quite a fresh and aquatic fragrance, and I have heard people describe it as almost citrusy as well, as it does have a few citrusy notes. Now, the perfumer probably best known for this is Alberto Morillas, and I hope I've said his name right, but there are a few others behind it as well. So I'm going to attempt to say a couple of their names, and they are quite difficult to say for a Scot. So we've got Annick Mignardo, Annie Buzantian, and Jackie Cavalier Belletrude. Right, okay, I've really embarrassed myself there. That was a very difficult one to say. And a basic breakdown of the top notes, mid notes and base notes are bergamot at the top, jasmine at the top, lime, mandarin orange at the top, and lemon. So as I'd said, quite citrusy. In the mids we've got hyacinth, coriander, marine notes, rose, peach, so a little bit of floral, kind of oriental, and then fruitiness in there. And then the base we've got amber, oak moss, musk, patchouli, and cedar. Okay, so we've had a brief look into the scent. So now let's just go into it. Let's just get into it. Now, what I'm wanting to do is not just read the long ones, or not just focus on the really short ones. I want to go through the ones that mean and look like they've meant a lot, rather than just running through reviews as well. So I think first of all what I'll do is I'm going to read what is probably kind of a review from a lady, I think, called MTS, and it's my absolute favourite summer scent. That's what it was labelled as. Now, it is translated. I have had to translate it, but it was a lengthy one, and I thought, wow, that really does look interesting. So I'm going to give it a read, and it is, I must say, it is partially a review, but also there is some story behind it as well. So I was young, a tender 16, when I made my decision to go to work in the distant city. Not only did I see my future in this place, but I also felt home for the first time in this destination. That is how it was when I lived through my years of training. I have experienced many things, gone through many things, and some things have remained. One of them was Acqua di Gio Eau de Toilette, which was the scent of my former instructor, very attentive to his appearance. I still see him in my mind's eyes as he strolls up and down the alleyway on his way to work or home. He had everything I wanted. Well, his relationships less so. We were very different. But a well-paid job, a great apartment, and a self-confidence that nothing can get out of hand so quickly. All in all, I had done pretty well so far, including a short hairstyle and a fashionable appearance. He used to wear the scent whenever it got warmer, and today I know why. There's probably no other scent that conveys this clear freshness better. You can go take a shower and put on that scent and you'll be ever more showered. You can put on the scent all sweaty after the gym and you're fresh. Apparently there is a special molecule in it that makes this effect possible. I am simply fascinated by how this fragrance has this unique property. It smells... I like this clear freshness. Like a breeze from the sea, simply marvellous, something even a bit arousing and unmistakably 90s about it. The scent can be recognised and sniffed in so many places that it should actually belong to the UNESCO World Heritage. The lime is clearly noticeable in the opening, but these maritime notes are just as dominant, so that I somehow don't want to notice others. I enjoy the whole thing in itself. What I really like in the base is a warm masculine grounding despite the rather citric opening. It seems to be standing and more stealth-stinging as well as the wearer. Actually, Eau Sauvage shouldn't be far away, but this one just looks a bit brighter, clearer than Eau Sauvage, but no less in appearance. Oh, durability. That doesn't matter with such a beautiful opening. I prefer to splash every 2 hours to dive back into the waves of fresh sea. Despite rather warm weather, the scent can survive for a good 3 to 4 hours. What is enough here? Really? Do I need more? I think that the scent would probably last longer if it applied thicker, but then the opening would be so much more for me. So you'd better keep on applying until you'd let it wear off in the end. The silage is good at the beginning, but then quite quickly quieter and short-lived, at least with my bottle. So far, it's quite okay. I had a friend in the gym who applied the scent before training, and so it was fresh around him for about 20 minutes and then quiet. In my office, the scent rarely left the room. Rarely left. In the office, it was more noticeable at close range, which was good for colleagues, although the scent would never have bothered anyone. Crowd pleaser just did. Oh, come on, you can't argue with that. Simple, and now the shape of the bottle exudes everything but like a special aura. It's that very time fragrance, that very same fragrance, but only if it's white and matte, the glass. Otherwise, it's another one of these stupid additions to the Armani cologne, almost every year. I feel like this matte enormously. Now, at this point, I must say it's starting to get a little bit confusing, the translation, but I'll continue and I'll try and translate it best that way I can. So when he says, I feel like this is matte enormously, I think what he means is he likes the feel of the matte enormously. I like the feel of the matte enormously, especially when it comes a bit transparent through my hands, which are soaked from the shower. Acqua di Gio is the fragrance I reach for when I have no idea what to wear, or when it has to be something light and fresh, always with the thought, oh come on, he always leaves, and a little bit fleeting than the memory of my trainer. Thank you for listening. Really, really lovely story there. I really do love these, and I think we can make a brilliant series out of this. So I hope you enjoyed that first story. Once again, that first story was, unfortunately, I don't think I can get the official name, but it was from a person who identified the name as MTS. So really, really great, and they rated it 10 out of 10 stars. Brilliant, brilliant review and story about Acqua di Gio. So that first review was great. The second one, though, Ocean Joy, is called. It's by someone that's identified as the name is Dan81, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good because he's really talking about how he loves the maritime notes and how everything about it is just so fresh. And I think that's something I really want to know, how people feel and how that makes them think back to certain times of their lives. So, Ocean Joy by Dan81. Acqua di Gio was a big shock for me when it first came out. Immediately purchased it as a teenager when it came out in the 90s, as I was completely mesmerised. Until then, I had worn Chanel Egoiste, an odd choice for a teenage boy, but that is what I liked. Then CK1 happened. The freshness was refreshing, and I remember my interest shifting towards something more masculine. I was very disappointed to come across cool water, as that smelled like soapy, fresh-cut green to me than the ocean. Acqua, with its beautiful maritime notes, absolutely captured and registered as ocean. The blending with citrus and the jasmine is so iconic that there's no wonder it became the all-time bestseller for men's cologne. What more can be said about Acqua? I still love this fragrance despite owning the newer flankers. Would I still purchase the original? It's a difficult no. I do believe the successful flankers are more modern and improved on performance, namely the Profumo, but I also like Absolute a lot. The reason I like these two scents is absolutely because of the undeniable ozone scent pillar that it continues to hold up. I like them because where they come from, and believe each are great creations, but the original would only serve the purpose of being a wallflower in my collection, with occasional sniffing should he join. So I will not do that to my favourite scent. His legacy will be carried on with new flankers, who I will test every time they come out. I wasn't a fan of the Profondo or Absolute Extreme, but that's not going to stop me from pilgrimaging Geo flanker releases. So a nice wee short one, and I'm going to move straight on to another shorter one, although it's probably about the same length as the first one, and it's called Back to the Roots, and it's by someone called Timson. After being a silent reader of this thoroughly likeable community for about half a year now, I decided to write my first review. I'd thought about it for a very long time, because, to be honest, I didn't dare for a long time, due to the fact that they are really very informative and partly also professional comments. So to be read here, I hope I do it justice. And I can tell you for sure right now in advance that this person really did do it justice. This is a proper, true love story. I would like to dedicate my first comment to the perfume, which was also my first perfume at the time. I was about 16 years old, and at that time a big fan of Bushido. At that time the Bravo magazines were also very hyped, and if there was an interview with the same rapper included, there was no other option for me but to buy this issue. No sooner said than done, and so in the course of the interview I came across the perfume Acqua Homme, and in my youthful recklessness thought to myself, if he's wearing that, it can only be good. Nowadays you could possibly call it analog influencing. Apps like Instagram were probably not even planned at that time. Anyway, I went to the drugstore and bought the scent, and at that time I didn't really think much about it. Eau de parfum, eau de toilette, eau de cologne, etc. Never mind, it was supposed to be this scent anyway. Today, it is certainly different, and I know, at least in the theory, the differences, but in practice it is not always what it says on the label. So far so good. Now, 12 years later, I have bought this fragrance again. The first time I sprayed it on, I was immediately reminded of that time, as if I was going on a journey through time. The same side of the Bravo immediately shot in my head. See, this person is clearly putting a lot of thought into this, and I'm really, really loving this story. If scents allow associations with certain situations, etc., this certainty does not mean anything negative for the individual, except one could not gain anything positive from the situation. And so the fragrance itself, this freshness which reveals itself to me immediately after spraying on, is, in my opinion, simply terrific, and I feel the need to sniff my arm permanently. I like the mixture of orange, lemon, tangerine and lime very much, although I cannot filter out the bergamot and jasmine in particular, which is certainly due to my untrained nose, and also doesn't mean that I can doubtlessly say the first mentioned ingredients, but I think I can recognize them at the beginning. In the further course of time, this does not become easier, so that I find it very difficult to recognize the ingredients, which does not make the smell worse. However, the amber note is definitely present in the base for me. I would also like to point out that I sprayed the Profumo simultaneously, and I read some comments on this before I bought the ADG. The tenor was mostly clear and spoke or rather speaks for the Profumo. However, I personally am still bothered by the incense, which is clearly shown to advantage, and I think that this does not suit me at the moment. The big shortcoming, which probably most fresh fragrances have, is, who would have guessed it, the shelf life. Already after a short time, 2 to 3 hours, I feel the need to respray, although I have not to note that the wearer, in this case me, might not notice it more, whilst outsiders still do. This happened to me when I entered my room. From this I conclude that the silage is quite solid at first, though I can't get rid of the feeling that it is almost only perceptible up close. The price, I bought a 100ml bottle at a reduced price in the perfumery with the big D. I didn't quite understand whether it was allowed to quote prices or not, as I do read that from time to time, but the rules don't allow it. I find this price in this size absolutely portable, because these, even if you spray more often, last very long. In this respect, I find the price-performance ratio in this case completely acceptable. In the end, I can recommend this fragrance well and gladly. If you are looking for something fresh, you're certainly not wrong here. I also find this fragrance timeless, so that it can be worn at any time. Apologies for that added sound effect, but that is that review done. And at this point, I would like to say that I've picked out what I thought were a couple of really, really lovely reviews, and they'll be nice ones to listen to. Whether you're in the car home, or whether you're just lying in bed listening to a podcast. Sometimes it's just nice to hear other people's opinions, and if you can relate to them, it's even better. Scents are for not just the person that wears them, as much as they really are quite important that the person who wears them enjoys them. It's also about those in the community and those who also wear them and enjoy them. It's about the people that smell them from you. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please do join me again on the next episode of Fragrance Love Stories. And if you'd like to have your own one shared with me, please do follow me on Instagram at @TheFragranceFanatic, and you can give me a message if you have a particular review that you would like to write that I could read out on the podcast. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.